My name is Zach Greenberg,
Hi, I'm Abigail.
and nice to meet everyone here. We're here with Yael and Rivka from WorkAtIt. Thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us today. We're really excited to hear more about your venture and your story, and let's just get right to it. So, Yael and Rivka, do you think you could each tell us a bit about your background and how you two got to know each other? How do you guys even meet and decide to? I guess, and how do you decide to partner up for WorkAtIt? Either one, I guess, could get started. You want to start with Yael?
Okay. So we've actually known each other for a long time. We come from sort of different professional backgrounds. I'm a clinical social worker, and Rivka has a business background. And I guess in talking, we had talked about the problem of teens who were sort of not in school, not working, sort of struggling socially, academically, with maybe mental health issues, and where that kind of leads. And when we heard about the accelerator, we had talked, I guess, about the idea of something needing to be done, but Rivka, being more of a doer, said, we should do something. We're a great team. And I was like, okay, yeah, lots of people are doing things. Why us? And then when I heard about the accelerator, someone had forwarded me that information. I sent it to Rivka and I'm like, hey, maybe we should try this. They're giving some seed money and maybe we should try to put it together. And that was basically how it happened.
So it came
from
the accelerator.
Yes. So that we're their baby because we actually started because that was our impetus.
Wow.
Oh.
So when we heard about the accelerator, Yael called me and said, okay, if we're really going to do this, it's now or never. And we went to all the organizations that touch our space, that work with our population. And we wanted to make sure that since we were on top of this, since we heard about this whole big problem, nothing was done in the area that we saw could really turn around the lives of this population. So we went to a lot of different organizations and we said to them, we have this idea, are you doing this? And if you tried it, what didn't work? And we really did a lot of benchmarking and best practice work, talking to many organizations. And then when we realized nobody was doing this, and with the Impact Accelerator, we said, okay, we're going to just go for it. And we built our whole program really around the application. So as we're applying, we're building the entire program.
Wow. It's crazy. Where are you two from? What were you doing before WorkAtIt?
So I'm from Brooklyn, and before WorkAtIt, I had a corporate career. Most of my career was spent in the pharmaceutical industry. So I have a degree in biochemistry, and then I have a degree in business, and I use both of them to help pharmaceutical companies, both as a consultant and working for them. And through the years, people came to me for career advice, and I realized, wow, I'm pretty good at this. I coach different people and help them both.
What kind of careers? Just general, any field? Do you give advice in generally or coaching?
Yeah, so people just came to me, a lot of times men that had lost jobs, needed advice about how to get back on track or maybe to move to different professions. And I just found myself coaching people throughout the years, helping them with resumes or helping them negotiate salaries or stuff at work. And then when this came up, I was like, wow, okay, I guess I'm pretty good at it.
Oh.
So I'm using those skills now. And also I'm using my business background in terms of building an organization.
Wow. So did either of you ever think that you would go into the nonprofit sector, or this was sort of oh, we have an opportunity, let's run with it?
I certainly never thought I would do this. It was really sort of, also personally seeing the need, since I have a son who was in a similar situation to a lot of the kids that we serve. And so kind of seeing it up close and personal, what this looks like, and where there was a vacuum of services. And that just kind of made me feel like I would like to be there for parents, for kids, to help them figure out what to do next when they're in this situation. So it was definitely not in my plan. It just kind of happened.
I guess for me, it's interesting because I've come full circle. So when I finished business school for the first year out, I had an opportunity to work for a not-for-profit that was working in the former Soviet Union and overseeing some of the grants and government money that was given to rebuild, I guess, the different countries after the collapse of communism. And I remember debating whether or not I should take that after business school or go really after what I was really seeking, which was consulting to the pharmaceutical industry. And I spoke to an advisor and he said, it's an interesting thing. You never know how it could help you in life. So over 20 something years later, I guess it has helped me. So it's very interesting to me. I guess I never thought I'd get back to it because I really had a passion for my consulting work and my corporate work, but I'm so grateful for it. And I feel what we're doing is helping so many people in so many ways I could never imagine. So it's just been wonderful.
Wow, awesome. And what are the services that WorkAtIt actually provides?
It's your baby, Rivka. Go for it.
So what we found was that when a lot of at-risk youth come to us, or kids that have dropped out of school, been asked to leave school, when we ask them what they're good at, they really have no idea. They look at us with a blank look. And we realize that we have to help them first discover what they're good at, because they are definitely good at a lot of things that unfortunately traditional schooling has not uncovered for them. So Yael spent probably half a year pulling together, and she could speak to more of it, different, I guess, skill assessments and aptitude tests that are fun to do and don't feel like schoolwork, but it really uncovers like what people are good at. So she spends a lot of time with each of the applicants working on those exercises and talking to them about what they're good at. And then they move on to the career coaching phase if they want to get a job. Sometimes they stop just with Yael and they were like, wow, I didn't know this about myself. I want to find my own job, or I want to go back into school. And if they want to find a job, then they move on to the career coaching, which is me. And I help them present those newly discovered skills to the company that they're after. So we talk about things, and we do a lot of mock interviews. We do sessions on sexual harassment awareness. We do job etiquette, job ethics. And then we have someone that works with them who we met through the OU. He's been wonderful. His name is Ariel. He works in finance, and on the side, he works with our clientele and helping them make amazing resumes and pitches to companies or jobs that they're seeking. And we, in addition to that, we have an educational advocate that works with people that have left school to negotiate. He negotiates with their high schools about getting their diplomas or getting their GEDs. And in some cases, alternative schooling. So for kids that don't want to go back to school, he helps them think about online schooling or different types of education. So that's in a nutshell what we do. We have several programs that we could talk about a little bit later, I guess.
Job placement, you forgot about that.
And okay. And then we also do, right. So if they're seeking jobs, then we actually have we spend a lot of time recruiting companies and businesses, mostly small businesses, I should say, that are interested in hiring entry-level people. And we have a big database of those businesses, and we're actually looking for more all the time. And then if we see a fit with one of our clients, we line them up for interviews. And then if they're hired, we work to support them in that placement. So at the beginning, it's once a week where they're meeting with the social worker or they're meeting with the career coach, and then it tapers off to once every 2 weeks, once every month. And it really is up to them to reach out and tell us how things are going and troubleshoot. And then periodically, we're also reaching out to them. But they can reach out as many times as they want if it's more than what we're communicating with them.
So just generally, like, who is your target market? Like, how old are these, I guess, teenagers that you're helping out get jobs? And, you know, what cities do you have a presence in? And any other information on who your main target of market is?
Okay, so 16 to 24 is our age range. We kind of chose that based on like a federal, sort of like there's been a lot of federal programming that was established for something called the Opportunity Youth, which is basically our demographic, like people in this age range who are neither working nor in school and trying to provide programs and services to help them like get back into society. So that's our target market in terms of neighborhoods served. So primarily Brooklyn, but I'm in New Jersey, so we have some presence in like Passaic Clifton area. We've placed some people in Muncie and Staten Island. So it's kind of like the general New York metro area. And we'll kind of probably refine that a little more as we grow bigger.
Yeah. Great. So I know like that you guys are very focused on getting jobs. Are there any other services that WorkAtIt works with with helping people?
I think Rivka just spoke to, just the what we call Strengths Finder assessment, trying to help, and the educational services, both of those pieces which are related to kind of, our tagline is a practical way forward, or finding a way forward, that people who are kind of in this space of not having what to do when they wake up in the morning, our goal is to help you figure out what you're good at, what you can do with that, and how to get there practically. So kind of whatever in that space, like I've done some coaching, somebody recently, I was working with a young woman who was asked to leave a program, a college program. So I was just working with her on trying to understand what happened and think about, should she fight it? Should she let go and find something else? With another young man I was working on, it was his first job, and he had a lot of anxiety, and just trying to figure out, can he do this job with his level of anxiety? How does he manage that? And, just sort of coaching and guiding through the process of beginning to, enter the world in that way.
I feel like a lot of kids, if they're or teens that don't necessarily like want to work, like how do you even, like what marketing strategies or maybe like perception strategies do you like utilize to get people to go on your website and be like, hey, like this is something I'm interested in?
Do you want to say anything about that, Rivka?
Yes, I think the people that reach out to us already took an initiative by reaching out. Sometimes it's the parent. So when it's the parent, and if it's a minor, then we deal with the parent as well as the young adult that reaches out to us. The first step is that the young adult has to fill out the application on our website. They could do it in conjunction with their parent, but we always want them to be involved in the process. Then they have to set up an appointment with our social worker, and they have to come to that appointment. So if they're not doing those things already, we're saying that they're not ready for our program. So that's showing us that they're a little bit ready for the program. It's not to say that it doesn't take a lot of work and coaching on the part, I'm sure Yael could speak to it, of getting people to recognize that they feel better about themselves. They're preparing themselves more for life if they gain certain skills. But because they're taking that initiative, generally, once they do that, they are ready to go through our program. And then certainly when they come to the next step of meeting with me, they're showing that they're ready to do that. And of course, there are hiccups along the way. We work with them, and there's each particular client that comes to us goes through multiple counseling and coaching sessions. So it's not like we do like a mini coaching session and they're off. They come repeatedly, we're talking to them repeatedly, and we're working on different issues that are coming up.
I would also say that making money is a big motivator. So because we work on helping people find jobs, so sometimes people who might not be willing to go for any other service will come and meet us because they want to have a way to earn money, so I feel like that is definitely for some of our kids, that is a big motivator. What they want money for, it's even if they want it, to buy things that people might not encourage them to buy, the fact that and then some people would say to us, well, how could you employ kids if they're going to use their money to buy weed, and even then I feel like it's worthwhile because, getting out there and being in the workplace, even if your goal is to use the money in one way, it changes you completely to like get up, be responsible, go somewhere, just, kind of feel like you have skills and talents that are used, and just a whole host of things that it's worthwhile for. So
I think also, I want to go back to your other question about what other services we provide. So we also run workshops. We were in the process of rolling it out to drop-in centers, and then COVID happened, but we ran them at a school for at-risk girls. And those workshops are group sessions, and they were on strength discovery. They were on how to put your best foot forward in the workplace, on resume writing, and they were really amazing sessions. And we look forward to resuming those as soon as we're able to. In addition to that, we have an intercession program where it's much more short term. So it's during the times that kids are out of school. So it would be before a major holiday, it would be during the summer, where we have a bunch of short-term jobs, and we don't really meet our clients, and we don't really interview extensively the employers, but we match kids up to the jobs that are open. So it's a less extensive program in terms of the coaching, but we're
right, because it's less long-term, so like it's not
less long-term. And the goal there is to give, all of our clients a reason to wake up in the morning, to make them feel good about themselves, and to have them earn some money.
It sounds like you guys really have a lot of great things going on. How many people are you actually servicing? Like in all of your programs, and however long they stay in the program, how many people is that?
Okay, so I would say over the life of our organization, which is about 2 years, a little longer than 2 years. So we've serviced around 100, close to that, maybe it's like 97 or so people have come through, our doors in various capacities. So some people are like, kind of in and out in terms of like getting some coaching or calling, and some people go through the whole process and get placed in a job. And, sometimes I'll just talk to a parent like 6 times while they're working through some kind of crisis and trying to move forward. So in various and sundry ways that we kind of interface with our clients, that's the number.
And it's very individualized. So we really focus on, and I think that's why we're successful, because we really have an individual basis, and we work with each case as many times as they need to come to us, and for as many different sessions with either Yael, myself, or the educational advocate, Yaakov Mintz, or Israel Antabi, so they could reach out as many times as they want.
So just, I guess let's just get into a little bit about the OU Accelerator. Like, I know you mentioned that, like, you kind of built your whole company, like, around the application, which is pretty awesome. Like, it's pretty remarkable. Like, you're even able to, like, do it like that, like, take a vision and make it. But how do you even hear about the Accelerator? Like, who is one that informed you about it, the application?
Probably a friend of ours who works at the OU. She's the editor of the Jewish Action. So
she knew about this vision of ours that, we always talked, Yael and I together, and then I guess our friends sort of know that we have a passion for this whole idea, and that we saw a huge need, but we always said, oh, somebody ought to be doing this. And then it became, we ought to be doing this. And then it became like, okay, yikes, if we don't do it now, it's never going to get done. So she knew that, and she reached out to Yael and said, hey, this is going on. Are you interested?
That's awesome. And was it just the two of you before the OU?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It's
Wow.
Pretty much been the two of us. I mean, we have, some other people working, volunteers, and we have one employee right now. But yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
It's been our baby.
So it was sort of like, as you were filling out the application and the application said, what's your mission statement? You turned to each other and said, what is our mission statement?
Exactly. Yes.
Wow.
And then, once we were part of the accelerator, using all the resources to grow, in that moment. So it was like very concrete. What we were learning was, not abstract. It was very much, okay, well, here's what we know about fundraising. Okay, we really need to go out and raise some money, because we started off with pretty much nothing, and we were, both working for free. And then, we learned some things about fundraising. And when was at our first fundraising meeting, we consulted with Arnold because after he had done his session, and we kind of talked about our ideas. And
Wait, who's
you know,
Arnold?
Arnold, is he still there? I don't know.
Yeah, he's the head of, I guess, I don't know the
Development, is it
term, but
called, or is it called Director of Development or
yeah,
Fundraising?
he's basically their main fundraiser, and he's amazing. And he gave a great session. And then we reached out to him. You know, Jenna encouraged everyone to reach out to whoever in the OU, and we reached out to him and we met with him, and it was a really good session where we took what he said and we really tried to implement it as best as possible. But I think what we did, you know, I would say, looking even back now 2 years later at our application, I think we had a very robust application, and we really built an amazing organization with great thought. We're in a lot of thinking. I mean, we spent probably months, and they were consulting hours. Anyone from the consulting industry knows it's like 80-hour work weeks. So it was a lot of time that was put into it. It was interesting because when some of our cohort members heard how much time we spent on the application, they're like, what? But we really built the organization around it. And then during the time that we were in the coursework of the accelerator, we really refined and refined and refined. And then as we go through our program, we're constantly refining it as well. So when we're learning that there are certain specific or niche needs within what we're doing that. And that's how we came to the workshops. We realized, wow, we could go into schools and we could make an amazing program where the clients benefit from the feedback of each other. So in a way, it's very robust as opposed to working one-on-one, which has its other advantages. So we built that whole thing. I guess it was probably around maybe 9 months ago we started working on that. So we're learning as we're going. And then we had the good fortune of meeting Israel Antaby at our OU final presentation, and he came on board and has been working very successfully with our clients on their resumes. So as we move along, we've been adding different services or different people that have moved our mission forward.
It really blows my mind that you totally built up this thing for the accelerator. So what was it like going through, like after you filled out the application and then you went through interviews and pitch night and then finally getting accepted? What was that like?
Yeah, I think for a little brief period of time, we talked about what would happen if we don't get it. Are we still going to be in a position, or are we still going to feel like we want to go forward with this? It was very nerve-wracking. It really was, because I guess it was right before Sukkot when they were supposed to let us know, and it kept changing the date. By that time, a few of us in the cohort, like that pitch night, were already friendly with each other. We would call each other, did you hear? Did you hear? Did you hear? So it was stressful because we weren't sure what we would do if we didn't get it. And then of course, when we got it, it was like for me, it was like a feeling of, wow, like this is like a sign from God that we are supposed to be doing this, because we have like this push now, and we personally have a way forward, which is as Yael said earlier, it's our tagline. So we have a way forward to accomplish these important goals that we set out to help struggling youth.
It's amazing. So I guess talking a little bit about the actual accelerator, like, can you share with us some of the highlights? I mean, I know you just mentioned about Arnold, like giving you some advice, like any highlights or key, like highlights of being in the accelerator?
So I'll talk first and I'll turn over to Yael. For me personally, having a business background, I'm working in business for many, many years. One can think maybe it would be redundant, and I have to say it was amazing, because either there were things that were like refresher courses, or there were things that I never did because I was like in sort of a silo of a certain aspect of corporate America. And I never, for example, fundraising was something that I had no clue about. Even social media, like I had no reason to do social media. And when you're in corporate, other people do things for you. So when you're in a startup, it's like very, very different. I think another thing that was amazing for me at being part of the accelerator was meeting advisors. So we were exposed to different people, and, we were able to take the initiative of reaching out and forming relationships with people. And we were very fortunate to meet different people. We met someone, Cal Nathan, who's been an advisor to us, and he's been just terrific. And we go to him whenever we need like quick brainstorming sessions, or when we need longer term brainstorming sessions. And he's been so generous with his time, his thinking, and everything. So we've met along the way some incredible people that have really helped us move forward as well. And that was a big blessing.
Right. And even, kind of, I remember like walking around the OU and trying to pick some people's brains, like we had like went on a little treasure hunt to find somebody that everybody was talking about, but he was like a little hard to locate. Like, which floor was he on? Does he really exist? Everyone talks about him, but like he doesn't answer his emails. We can't find him. And eventually we located him, and he was really a find. He was really good to talk to. He had a lot of like background and like grants and education, and just gave us kind of a perspective that helped us figure out a little bit of how to go forward with trying to find grants to support our organization. Another thing that I remember that was a lot of fun was a session on creating your mission and your vision. I don't remember who ran that. Was that Emily?
Yeah.
And it was just sort of, right. She was from Upstart, and it was very kind of whimsical, like, but really like pushed you to think like out of the box about kind of who we are and what we want to be. And, it was just really like fun and creative. And I think like we took what we got from that to really create a mission statement that was more alive, like kind of a living thing, as opposed to like just a bunch of words strung together.
And I think also meeting the other cohort members, everybody's from such different backgrounds and are doing very different things. We're doing something completely different than everybody else. And yet we learn so much from each other, and people are so willing to help. And that's been also amazing. When we need help in certain areas, we always, feel free to reach out to different people that are better at it than we are.
And was there ever a point where you were like, we can't do this anymore? Like, that's it, we're calling it off? Or like, was it every step of the way like, oh, we're getting better. This, like, I finally see how it's coming together?
I think the fundraising is a big challenge for us. Now that we're two years old, we could start applying, hopefully start looking at different grants. We haven't been able to do that until now. And it's also very hard to get grants in our specific area. Saying that we're Jewish automatically excludes from a lot of grants. There's a lot of sort of bias against us. And so that's been really, really hard. And sometimes we're like, oh my God, I guess I feel like, wow, I didn't feel like I signed up to do the fundraising. I really thought, okay, I'm going to be sitting here helping all these kids all day. And I didn't think about the money, which is kind of funny given my business background. But so that's been a struggle. It's really been a struggle. And, we've met along the way, some people that have been generous, very generous to us with their time, with their finances, and trying to help us fundraise more. And we're obviously always in need of doing that. So that's been a struggle. But other than that, I feel like there's so much good that we see that we're helping these kids. Like yesterday, we got a note from one of the mothers. I forget the exact language. I could probably pull it up a little bit later while Yael's talking, but it was so beautiful. She said something like, "Thank you so much for reaching out to me during this difficult struggle. It means so much to me." And it was more beautiful language, but I was like, oh my gosh, wow. So all those little notes that along the way, we sort of lose because they get buried in piles, but they're beautiful, and they make me realize, wow, we really just touched someone in a way that could change the trajectory of their lives.
Right. And, also this week, I was trying to help somebody get a job for her daughter, who she was kind of debating what the mother had been talking to me for a while, and I had been trying to connect her with this employer who was a little reluctant, or maybe just had, her own stuff going on. But, in the moment that the mother told me that, she's considering, like, I don't know, sending her daughter to rehab, or, because the situation is getting so bad, but she just felt like if she had something to do, it would make such a difference. And then somehow I was able to arrange that, or God was able to arrange that the employer at that moment, agreed to take this girl on, and they're going to start this week. And like the mother told me that, like, the whole family was dancing, that the daughter finally has something to do. And like, you know, in those moments, it's just like, okay, you know, sometimes it feels like we don't have the money. It's so complicated to, you know, be the jack of all trades when you think you're good at one thing and you're doing 15 because, you know, you're running a small startup. But, you know, in those moments, it feels like, wow, okay, you know, it's worth it. Yeah.
Oh, wow, those are amazing stories. So a year, like you guys were in the accelerator like a year ago now. So in what ways has WorkAtIt grown, and you know, where are you guys at now? Like maybe like team size, how have you guys grown the past year?
So I guess we could say we doubled in size because we added another employee on payroll. So that doubled, which is really important for a startup, like to make new hires and to grow that way. We also have some contract workers. We definitely have a lot of volunteers, it's really amazing to us that people reach out to us. They hear about what we're doing and they want to help. So that's been really beautiful. We definitely have an explosion in the amount of kids that we've helped and families. So that's been great. You know, again, fundraising is something that I wish we had an explosion in, but we need to work on that. And our programming has really expanded as well. So I mentioned earlier that we added on the whole workshops, which were amazing. When we first walked into the school, so many of the students were so belligerent and they were like, oh, I'm not doing this. And then, you know, they sort of were forced to do it because it was part of their coursework. And midway through the session, I was observing Yael's session. I was like, oh my gosh, the engagement in the room was like magnetic. I mean, everyone was like glued onto her activities. They couldn't get enough. They were all coming over to me for help, making sure they were doing it, you know, the way that would benefit themselves. And it was just beautiful to watch. So I think, you know, adding different services. We brought on the educational advocate, Yaakov Mintz, who's been amazing. He's worked with, especially during COVID, he's really encouraged some of our clients to utilize the time properly and study for your GED, try to negotiate. He negotiated with high schools to get their diplomas. So I would say that we have basically exploded since then. We've done a lot of stuff.
You know, but for me, I would say the part that I enjoy most is like feeling like you're taking somebody who's, you know, feeling kind of hopeless and like together injecting some hope into their life. And that is the most powerful experience for me, because it's just, you know, having been there, or, you know, I guess in some way, many parents, sometimes in a child's life, you feel like you don't know what's going to happen next, and it feels scary. And you just don't know how you're going to move, how you're going to move forward. So giving people like little ideas or thoughts or hope, or, you know, something practical that they can take with them feels like, you know, a very, very powerful process that we're involved in.
So on the point of taking something practical, you spoke a lot about what it was like during the accelerator, but now like a year after, what would you say was the most important either piece of advice or the most important workshop that you were like, this every single day we bring this up, or like we constantly are mentioning this one piece?
I don't know. I guess I think of it more as like a whole bunch of different, you know, pieces of it that we pull out at different times. You know, I mean, like the relationship, sometimes, you know, we're middle-aged and not so techie. So we sometimes call upon the advice of our younger cohort member, who has been extremely gracious at, you know, helping us navigate stuff like, you know, social media, grant applications, and, you know, so just having that, and he's doing like the same thing that we're doing, so that, you know, in terms of applying for grants, so that's really helpful. Like I said, you know, clarity on our mission, our vision, how to fundraise, how to use ourselves in like different ways, you know, all of those things. I feel like we really gained a lot, and we definitely reference, you know, people from the accelerator, or, you know, learning. So I feel like it's something that does come up a lot, you know, what we learned and how we gained. you want to say something more about that?
I agree. I don't know that I could point to one thing. I think the whole thing was like a whirlwind of amazing opportunity of coursework, of meeting our cohort members and of meeting our advisors. I think if I had to pick up all those things, to me, the relationship that we have with our advisor is just been so helpful and so beneficial. But I think
I
everything.
would also say, oh, I'm sorry. Finish.
No, okay, go ahead.
No, I was also going to say the way Jenna ran the program,
Oh, yeah.
I thought was really, she did a really great job. And I thought that was just sort of, you know, in terms of like, if you want to run an educational program, just like the way she thought of all the details that really make a difference, you know, and the way she checked in with everybody. I just thought she did a really masterful job of putting everything together. And, you know, we learned from that too.
Yeah, and I would say that even now I feel like very comfortable. We're reaching out to her whenever we have a question or for guidance. So I think that relationship has been wonderful. And I think she ran such an amazing program. It was unbelievable how she was able to navigate all the different cohort members, their needs and their different backgrounds, and really pull something together that was valuable for everybody.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm so glad you guys got that experience.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Really nice.
What are some short and long-term goals for WorkAtIt?
So I'm always stuck on the fundraising because we really need money in order to accomplish what we want to accomplish. And we have a lot of things that we need to accomplish. So right now, you know, through COVID, we were able to, Yael was doing more of the sessions because I think a lot of our clients couldn't see past to where they're going to actually go work. Like everything was so uncertain, especially because New York and New Jersey were hit the hardest early on. And then we've been shut down for so long. But the minute New York City opened, so while that was happening, of course, as I mentioned, our educational advocate was doing a lot of work. Yael was doing a lot of work. I was doing not as much work with clients, with new clients. Our old clients I was doing work with in terms of, okay, how do you keep up that relationship with your employer? How do you address the fact that your employer is worried about being able to pay salaries once things turn around? How do you address the fact that you don't even know if your employer is even going to be in business once things turn around? So I help the different clients already in our program communicate with their employers, keep up that relationship. Then once New York City opened, I guess it was around 2 weeks ago, fully, or as fully, I guess as we're going to be open for a brief period of time. We had an explosion. We had in the last 2 weeks, we've had over a dozen kids reach out to us and, you know, and parents. We have a shelter that reached out to us that we've helped a number of kids from there and saying, can I send you 5 more? So we've had an explosion of kids. We've also had, thankfully, some caring employers that have reached out to us. We put some ads in different newspapers and they reached out saying, I have these particular jobs. And now it's a matter of putting the clients through our program, getting them really ready to put their best foot forward, to understand themselves and their readiness for working, and then helping them figure out, okay, what's like a good match for you, and seeing if there's a match. We need to still build up, of course, our employer database, because we need to have a bunch of employers at the same time that we have a bunch of kids in the program so that we could make successful matches. One of the things that I always tell parents or young adults that we're working with is our goal is not just to make a match for you. Like that doesn't really help anybody, because if it doesn't work, you don't feel good about yourself. You want to be successful in whatever you do. So we have one case where a lovely employer had reached out to us. And I was so excited. Like, she heard about our program, she loved it, and she wanted to help in any way she could in terms of hiring someone, and she would make it work, whoever that was. But through an entire year, I never felt that there was anyone that was like a perfect fit for what she needed and that would be successful in her business. And it took a year, and we finally placed someone, and it's been amazing. They both love each other, which is so beautiful. And I'm hearing great things about, the placement. So we're careful. We don't just match for the sake of increasing our numbers or saying, okay, we're helping you, because we don't feel that's really helping them. We feel like a good placement is helping somebody. So it takes time to do that. And to do that properly, we have to build up a lot of employers at the same time that we're taking in a lot of applicants to the program.
funny that like
So I
you're
would
saying.
say,
Oh, sorry.
go
So,
ahead.
like, I was just saying, like, you're like saying like how it's not about the quantity, like in terms of like the kids, but you want the quantity of employers in order to give better quality. It's interesting. Really
Yeah.
awesome.
Right. So if we have a big enough database, then we can draw upon. So when we have, one kid is interested in working with animals, one wants graphic art, one, various and sundry talents, our kids come with, and just, finding the right person at the right time is sometimes a challenge. So I would say you asked about a short-term goal. So maybe a short-term goal is which we're trying to do with an ad campaign, is build our employer database and build up enough funds so that we can kind of properly run and possibly, hire somebody, maybe separate the tasks a little more, so the two of us aren't doing a little bit of everything, but we're actually letting everybody do what they're, work their strengths in terms of what they're doing. So as we grow, we hope to be able to do that.
Great. To wrap up, do you have any advice, I guess on two fronts, one to someone that has an idea but doesn't know how to get their venture off the ground, and then also to, I guess just a teenager or someone who isn't motivated right now but wants to, isn't motivated, like, do you have any advice on how they can find motivation and work and start working and, feel like they have a productive life and be productive?
Yeah, why don't you start?
Okay, so I'll start with a teenager. I guess I would say, from both as a parent and as, having met so many kids, I would say that it's really important for parents to kind of just be present and loving and believe in your child, no matter like how awful you think whatever they're doing is, just to kind of know that this will not go on forever, and if you can be present and loving and supportive no matter what, that's the best thing you can do. And for the kids, really, just find something you love and find a way to do it. And even if you weren't successful in one area of life, it doesn't mean that you don't have so much to offer and to enjoy in this life, and to try and find a way to do that. And I think, I've seen over and over that when kids realize that, hey, I am good at something, and somebody thinks I'm smart, or someone thinks my art is amazing, that is just so, it really takes them a lot of places. That sort of building on their belief in themselves is really important. I don't know if you wanted to speak to like a new venture starting.
Yeah, sure. So I think, it's important to look around and see what other people have done before you and where you could fit into that landscape. And I think it's important to talk to as many people as possible, learn from where they did things that they wish in hindsight they would have done differently. And really to do what we did, which was gain a lot of benchmarking and, best practices, and then pull something together. So I think there's a lot of great ideas out there that never get done. And sometimes ideas are too early for their time also. Because sometimes, you see through history, there are ideas that weren't successful when they started, but then many years later they were. So I think there's also often the correct time for things to start.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining, Rivka and Yael. So for any viewers or listeners out there,
yeah, we're really
check
grateful
out
to Jenna, the OU, and the whole Impact Accelerator. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Check out the website at workatit.org.
And donate.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for taking the time to speak with us. This was so much fun.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, our pleasure. Thank you.